So, Matthew, thank you so much for taking some time to stop by and chat with me today, even stopping by here. So, first of all, for people watching at home, could you please introduce yourself? Tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Matthew Furyk, state senate candidate from Chocolate. Yeah, happy to be here as America First state senate Republican candidate for the UP. Um, and my background is in IT, so I'm very impressed with the studio here in this amazing setup you have here. I'm for election audits. I'm for UP first legislation. We have an election right around the corner. August 2nd is the primary date. So a lot of important votes to be cast. Tell your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers. August 2nd is the day. I hope to earn your vote either before or during this interview. Yep.
Sure. So, tell me a little bit about how your background has led you to running in this race.
Sure. So my background in IT as a network engineer ranges from hospitality to healthcare, and even working in telecom. But even more lately, working at the mill in Munising there. But then left the mill to campaign. I know how important it is and how important this seat is, because it's the final say for what the UP approves of and doesn't approve of. With me, you'll have a candidate who will protect your rights, who will roll back restrictions on your rights, and who will put forth UP first legislation. That is so important, where a lot of people are feeling the effects of the decisions of this seat, as far as gas prices, inflation, things like that. People have questions about the elections, and so for me, that is my forte, where I'm happy to get down to Lansing and make sure that we have airtight, watertight elections, no room for cheating, and that everything, that there's identification, authentication, authorization, accountability, and auditability in every step of the process.
Yeah, thank you. And that was going to be the next question, actually. So, surrounding and following the last general election, there's a lot of talk of democracy being at risk through the voting methods or the soundness of our elections. What are your thoughts on that in the past and moving forward?
Yeah, so for the UP here, I mean, we have some of the nicest clerks. They do the job just perfectly, and a lot of times, they're just nice little old ladies. And I've met with many of them, and for them, they're just doing what they're told. However, with the Dominion machines, with the ballot mules that we saw in 2,000 mules, with a lot of the questions as far as affidavits, which I think are very serious, where somebody says, hey, I saw something, it was illegal, it was questionable, and I think under the penalty of a felony, I'm willing to say that that this happened. We should look into all those things, and it's about the weight of our vote here, where we can't allow our votes to be diluted by downstate ballot stuffing or flipping, if there is such a thing. And we should look into it, because there's so much, everybody questions it pretty much.
Yeah, thank you. And now, with the likelihood of abortion access being on the ballot in November, what's your stance on that proposal?
Life begins at conception, and what we need to implement a prosperous region, a prosperous workforce, where people don't feel fearful about having a big family, about getting married and following that natural, ideal process for the family. We need to protect the most vulnerable, whether they be babies, born, unborn, or elderly, in the form of identity theft, like with I think what we saw within Wisconsin, I think there was in Michigan. We need to protect those most vulnerable, and so men will man up, and women will women up, and we will raise those babies. So.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. And now another topic here. So if elected, what would you do to improve access to mental health care resources in the UP?
Sure. So, I think healthcare in the UP, there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. I know a lot of people I've talked to have talked about Obamacare and how Obamacare has been, it has very much been an overpromise and underdeliver scenario where, we still see a lot of problems with people getting, good coverage, people with dental, things like that. So, that's where Obamacare has really fallen flat. And, it's still something that even at a federal level needs to be reworked. And I think, we see it in the UP, but we're lucky that we have a healthy, we have a very, and it's so important that we protect our water, our land, and our air, because we're blessed that this is God's country, and, and we have, we're eating whitefish and pasties, and, that is a healthy diet, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Just want to make sure we touch on, in case I didn't mention, access to mental health care in the UP.
Sure. So, I think that a solid family unit, I was lucky where I was raised very, Furyks, Mackeys, we had a very healthy upbringing. And so from a mental standpoint, I think that people need to have prosperity. People need to have some sort of a family unit of support, friends, family. And with COVID, what we saw was a lot of overreach, both in Lansing at a state level and even at a federal level, forced isolation, people put out of work, small, mid-sized companies just shuttered while we have, the big oligopoly type companies still open. Those have ripple effects, and I think that those did have, COVID in general did have negative mental effects on some people. And, the right way to address that, I believe, is to, we need to look at, how far was there overreach with what I consider to be medical tyranny into our livelihoods. And so that's what we'll be looking at, evaluating, and moving forward on. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, if elected, what would you do to improve access to care for seniors in the Upper Peninsula?
Definitely. So with some of these big projects I have, as far as, the 100-year sustainable mining, sustainable logging plans, as well as technologies, basically coupling technologies with our supply chains, reeling in supply chains, bringing more of those jobs here. The revenues, the additional revenues, taxable revenues, funneling more of that to our seniors to take care, because we have an elderly population, and we're proud of all of our elders who have worked so hard, and they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and to have a dignified, happy later stages of their life. So we will champion them with having prosperous projects, and then allowing our workforce to take care of them in that fashion.
Yeah, thank you. And this will be my final question. Do you have any message for undecided voters right now?
Sure. This is a very important election. I am the state Senate candidate. I can't be bought. I won't be coerced. I'm just simply here to serve the people of the UP. So I encourage you to vote for Matthew Furyk, August 2nd. Tell your friends, tell your family, your neighbors, your church. I'm raised Lutheran, And I believe that, yeah, we will get it done, and I will get down to Lansing, and I will work as hard and as smart as I can for you. So thank you.
Well, Matthew, I really appreciate you taking some time to stop by and chat today, go over all your responses, and now people will be able to see, and I'm sure they'll appreciate going over everything.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much. This is wonderful. So.